And for us to achieve a good result, you do whatever it takes. If it means that as a chairman, you have to make tea for your guests, you do it. And I do it often. But the most important thing that one of the most important things my father taught me was the importance of humility. And this is something that I try to practice, because when you think too much of yourself, you become arrogant, and then the end comes very quickly. Hi, I'm Dilhan Fernando, Chairman and CEO of family tea company Dilmah Ceylon Tea Company PLC from Sri Lanka. I'm thrilled to be in Chile. It's a great honor to meet you and to speak to you. Thank you.
Soy Felipe León, fundador de Diario Sustentable, y estás escuchando el podcast del Club de la Sustentabilidad, el espacio de Diario Sustentable, donde nos reunimos para hablar de innovación, sostenibilidad, emprendimiento y colaboración. Hoy día estamos desde el Hotel W, junto con Dilhan. Él es CEO de los Té Dilhan. Vamos a conversar sobre la estrategia de sostenibilidad, qué están haciendo, cuáles son los desafíos futuros, cómo ven Chile también como plataforma de desarrollo de negocios. Así que bienvenido, Dilhan, a esta conversación con Diario Sustentable. Comenzamos estas conversaciones con la palabra pasión. Me gustaría conocer qué te apasiona hoy día o qué te motiva de tu trabajo.
My passion is family business. When I say family business, I mean business with values, because it means that you can do what you love. For me, it's tea, but at the same time, you can also do what is right by people and the environment, by nature.
Cuéntame un poco de la tradición de té, ya que es un negocio de familia, de la tradición de té en tu familia.
We drink tea all the time. So from morning till evening, it's just different ways, different types of tea, depending on the weather, but always without milk, except on Saturday afternoon, when we have a milky chai. But every other time, it's without milk, without sugar, sometimes with a few herbs, sometimes with fruits, sometimes with spices.
Perfecto. Y este es un negocio familiar. ¿Se me puede contar un poco la historia de Dilmah, del té?
So my father, he was born into a lower middle class family in a very small village in Sri Lanka. He wanted to get into the tea business because he loved the passion that went into picking tea, the tea industry, but he also saw that everything we did in Sri Lanka to produce good tea was being taken away to England at that time. Any industry, to call an industry great, it must benefit the workers, it must benefit the soils, and it must benefit the economy. Tea was not benefiting any of this. It was an extractive form of capitalism. So at that time, the British insisted that Sri Lankans, we were called Ceylonese, we could not taste tea because we ate too much chili. But my father overcame this, and in 1950, he was one of the first Ceylonese to go to London to learn about the tea industry. When he came back, he understood that it was a very unfair industry, because the tea industry, it was producing revenue, but the profit was going into the wrong pockets. So he could see that in our country, there was no money for education, for innovation, for restoration, for all of the things that need to be done to make this industry sustainable. So he attempted to start his own business, but for 35 years, he had all kinds of obstacles. There are too many to explain now, but everything from the freight rate was increased, so many obstacles. His customers left him when he said he wanted to start producing tea in Sri Lanka. So many obstacles. But after 35 years, finally he got a chance to launch his tea, and that was in Australia in September 1985. And so after he launched Dilmah, he got a lot of opposition. So many competitors understood the power of his story, because we grow tea, and tea should be packed fresh to protect the taste and the natural antioxidants. So my father's story of packing fresh at origin was the most powerful one. From there, the company grew. My brother and I joined in the 1990s. We had a lot of challenges, but eventually we grew to today we are in 108 countries around the world. But I think the most important thing for us is to always remember the values of the business, which is that you can never compromise on quality. And this is the hardest part, because around us, in every category, you see compromise. Quality for profit, quality for discounts. And so today, our mission is to tell people about tea, about its goodness. We go around the world, we have our School of Tea, which started in 2009. We want the world to understand this natural herb, how potent it is for taste, but also for antioxidants. The health benefits in tea, they are something incredible. There are 22,000 research papers on PubMed online, all about the health benefits of tea, from brain health to heart to stress to many things. My father passed away a year ago in July last year. So now I have the help of my son Amrit, the third generation. My daughter and son will join. My brother is looking after another part of the business. And so we will continue this mission. And it's really simply to make the world a better tea, but also to explain to people what tea is. Because now we are at a point where we have to start again. And after 20 to 30 years of commoditization, we need to tell people what tea is, to re-engage and reconnect.
Dilhan, la importancia, el té tiene relación con la tierra, se cultiva en la tierra, la importancia de la sostenibilidad para ustedes dentro de la estrategia de negocio.
Every time we pick tea from a plant, we are taking something from nature. So the simple principle is that we need to look after our soils. We need to work together with nature to be able to address the problems, which are, for example, insects or other problems. But for every one of those, there is a solution in nature. So we have a research and development unit called Dilmah Conservation. We have, we trialed and we introduced biochar in 2012. We now use, we have developed an agroforestry model where we are trying to involve the retired workers in restoration, in more sustainable agriculture for the future. We have a climate research station. I'm told it's the first private sector climate research station in the world. We work with 7 universities from around the world to build the knowledge, the methods, and to share them with our colleagues and our competitors, small farmers. And particularly biochar is a very potent technology. It's ancient. Of course, it was developed in South America, but it is very potent for the future of our soils and our tea industry. But the biggest priority is to move away from the colonial system of monoculture, which is the large plantations. And this is why we are doing a scientific trial for agroforestry, where we have multiple crops growing on estates. So this has started some time ago, and we are working with Global Green Growth Institute, GGGI, to develop the model for the benefit of the whole industry.
¿Cómo ves el mercado del té en Chile y qué desafíos o qué pasos están dando en el mercado aquí de Chile y de Latinoamérica?
So Chile is in a very critical point in the development of its tea category. Other countries have been at this place, but some have gone into a commoditization route, which means they focus on discounts, and then you lose quality, you lose choice, and you lose sustainability. So what we are trying to do is to work with hotels, restaurants, with retailers to explain to consumers the variety of taste in tea, to talk to them about the benefits of antioxidants, but also to explain to them the sustainability and the humanitarian aspects of tea. This is very important for the sustainability of the industry as well as for the consumer, because if the industry is driven by 50% discount, like you see in many countries, the producers can't afford to pay the workers a fair price. So the consumer and the retailer are all important in this chain. So education and awareness are very important. But at the same time, if a category becomes so discount driven, like you see in many countries, in the US, in Europe, in England, it's very challenging. Then you lose the taste, you lose the natural benefits, because tea is very rich. You know, tea was discovered as a medicine. But today, the importance of that for human health, you cannot overemphasize it. So this discount culture that started in 2008 has created problems not only in tea, but in many industries. And we are committed to educating consumers and retailers so that Chile will not go down in that direction.
¿Cómo es el futuro de la sustentabilidad en la industria del té?
We recently organized Sri Lanka's first climate summit. It happened in May. What we told everyone is, if we don't aggressively embrace sustainability, the industry is finished. Not only the industry, our costs will go up and the country's economy will be devastated. So we need to share this knowledge, we need to share it urgently, and we can save the industry. But we have to fight against that culture that you have to produce cheap if you want to sell. This is the fear of many producers. If you go for quality and spend money, you can't sell it. That's the fear, but we are trying to break that.
Me gustaría llevarte a un último tema, que es el tema de liderazgo. ¿Cómo definirías tú tu liderazgo dentro de la empresa, tu liderazgo empresarial?
You know, we're a family business. For us, the status is not important. What is important is to work together, and what is important is to achieve a result. And for us to achieve a good result, you do whatever it takes. If it means that as a chairman, you have to make tea for your guests, you do it. And I do it often. But the most important thing that one of the most important things my father taught me was the importance of humility. And this is something that I try to practice, because when you think too much of yourself, you become arrogant, and then the end comes very quickly.
¿Hay algún consejo que hoy día le darías a tu yo más joven?
Yeah, my father could not afford to, but he sent me to a great university, the London School of Economics. When I came out of there, I thought I had achieved great things. But my advice to my younger self would probably be to take my father's advice more seriously, to understand humility, because unless you're humble, you don't open your mind to learning. And what I have learned over the years is that today, even from the kids who come from universities for internship, I learn new things. From the workers, they look at a problem from a different perspective, and I learn new things. So when you have the humility to understand that what you think may not be right, then you have a very special way of doing things better, getting other people's perspectives. Otherwise, you sit in an echo chamber in your mind, thinking that what you know is right, and that is the only way. But with the humility that my father taught me, it just makes everything so much richer and better.
¿Hay algún desafío que te tocó enfrentar? A ver si me puedes contar uno que te haya tocado y que te haya marcado y cómo lo resolviste.
Yes, one of our biggest single customers called me in January last year and told me that I had to reduce our prices because they wanted to make 45% margin. We were making 2% margin. And then I said, look, I can't. But then they told me to reduce what we do for charity and to give them what they wanted. They were making 43%, so we were 2% short. And at that point, even though it was our biggest customer, I had to tell them, no. I left the meeting. I went straight to the biggest national newspaper in Australia, and I told them what happened. They published the story on the front page. The television stations and everyone put pressure. The consumers came to our defense. And it was the greatest threat, but at the same time, it was a great victory for the consumer, for producers, for us, and ultimately also for the customer, because they bring value back to their tea category.
Terminemos esta conversación con desafíos. ¿Qué desafíos ves? ¿Cuáles son los planes a futuro?
It's to connect with the new generation of consumer, because everything is different now. But we're doing that with iced tea, we're doing it with cinnamon, we're doing it with more botanicals in our teas, so healthy botanicals. There is no business without challenges, but to do business the right way is much more challenging. But then when you win, and we do it with faith, we have great faith in God, and we believe that if we do the right thing, we will win. Then it's so much more, the achievement, the fulfillment is so much greater.
¿Puedes comentar sobre ese el concepto de amabilidad y también tú agregar el concepto de colaboración? A ver si es que...
It's a simple philosophy, in the sense that as humans, it's what makes us different from whether your humanity is defined by kindness. That's what makes us human. So My father could never see why that should not be the case for business too. And so for us, we're the same. And it is the reason why my son has joined the business. He can get a much bigger salary elsewhere. My daughter will join the business because of the kindness. So some people tell me that to be, what is it they say, nice guys finish last. Mm-hmm. It's a famous saying in business. But people tell me all the time, but kindness today is our biggest strength and our biggest resilience in our business, for customers, for our workers, for my family, and for the future of our business.
Muchas gracias, Dilhan, por estos minutos de conversación con Diario Sustentable.
It was an honor. Thank you.